Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about Cardano, and it looks like it could maybe be getting primed for a pretty decent move. We're seeing a lot of really interesting things coming out from like the social sentiment of Cardano. That's the biggest thing that I really wanted to go over today, so we will get into that. We're also going to be taking a look at price action. Price action a little bit boring, if I'm being completely honest, over the past several days, so we will look into that, but nothing too special going on overall. The crypto market just kind of generally is, I don't think it really knows where it's going, right? So it's kind of chopping around. Some alts go up, some alts go down, then they flip, they switch spots the next day, and then the ups go down and the downs go up. It's crazy. Basically the overall market is trying to figure out what Bitcoin's going to do. Bitcoin is in a point of consolidation. Maybe we see a break to the downside. If we see a break to the downside, then of course maybe the calls for the top of the cycle are correct, and then maybe we're going to be moving into a somewhat of a prolonged bear market. Though I will say, if we do go into a bear market, probably not even close to the severity of some of the previous ones that we've seen, or maybe we break to the upside, and then the market's not over, and things continue along, and then maybe we get this altcoin season that we've been looking for. So anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at here. I did want to go into crypto bubbles just to see kind of where things are at. As I was mentioning, kind of a whole bunch of volatility all over the place. The Solana ecosystem has not been doing particularly well over the past couple of days. XRP seeing a little bit of a cooling off period. Again, nothing too crazy. Virtual is also continuing to struggle a little bit. We can see Cardano actually up 2% today, but again, nothing too impressive. Cardano has actually moved up a decent bit over the past week, though, as well as Cake and Telcoin kind of being the big ones, and then we got snek, Ronin, Ohm, and then Caspa and Lido kind of being some of the bigger ones to the upside. Biggest ones to the downside are HBAR, Tau, Solana, Onyx Coin, and then BGB and Hex Coin. So we'll have to see kind of how they do. But as you can see, this week is showing green, but it's very mixed. Today is showing red, but it's also very mixed. So nobody really knows what's going on. And if we look at the Cardano price, we can see something very similar. So we'll pull this up and we can take a closer look at what we're seeing here. Obviously, we saw the really nice run to the upside back in November. Since then, it's obviously been just kind of a consistent move to the downside, but again, nothing too crazy. Even if you look at the absolute lowest low that we've seen, which would have been this rogue wick here at about 50 cents, this is still well above kind of the highs that we were seeing prior to here, which was like 40 cents. So still 20% higher than the highest high that we'd seen recent to this kind of move to the upside. So I would call that pretty good news still. And even right now, we're sitting around the 80-cent range, which is 2x from the previous highs. So even though we are down from the tops of about $1.30, there's still, it's still looking pretty good, I would say, overall. Now we just need to be patient, and we need to see, can we see a little bit of a reversal setting in, or are we going to be continuing to kind of fall down this, fall down the chart a little bit until we are reaching some of our previous kind of highs prior to this run to the upside? Hard to say for sure. I mean, if we do look at the RSI, it's looking about balanced, so the chart's looking pretty consistent there. If we also do look at the Bollinger Bands, you can see we're almost sitting exactly on this kind of midpoint for the Bollinger Bands. So I would say Cardano sitting in a pretty neutral spot right now with regards to the chart. We also can see that the bottom of this Bollinger Band has started to kind of pull to the upside, though the top one is still coming down. So potentially we might be starting to see a little bit of some of the Bollinger Band squeezing a little bit. We're still in the very, very early stages of that, so I wouldn't say that this is particularly indicative of anything yet. But what we can see in the past is look what happens when you can see a squeeze. Now, to be clear, a squeeze means that it's an indication of liquidity or volume to one side or the other. It just so happened here it was a massive move to the upside, but that is not always guaranteed. It can be a move to the downside. It really depends. So we're still a ways away from that, to be clear, but we are starting to see the indications of these moving closer together rather than further apart. So something to consider there. Now, as we move along, though, we're going to kind of talk about some of the social sentiment that I think could be changing, which would be really, really good to see. Before we do that, though, if you are interested in trading Cardano, Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything like that, feel free to use my link in the description below to BTCC. We are doing that 10% bonus on first time deposits, plus extra bonuses of $10,000 $1,055 per user, in addition to having no VPN or KYC necessary. So BTCC, they've given me this kind of special offer that I can offer to the community, which is really nice. I do really appreciate that. And that's one of the reasons why I have used BTCC for so long, is because I get offers from other exchanges to kind of work with them. And, I've got various things that they try and offer in terms of like rewards to the community and all of that type of stuff. But this seems to me to be the best one so far, and so that's why I've stuck with BTCC. If there's another offer that comes around where they have a better bonus for the community, obviously maybe we'll reconsider that at that point in time. But just something that I really do appreciate that. So anyway, moving on, let's talk about some of the social metrics and social sentiment, a lot of that type of stuff. What we can see here, Alex Becker, he's actually moved fully out of Sol, and he's all in on Ethereum and actually Cardano, which is pretty interesting. RWA is going to be the power narrative. I think there's probably a lot of reasoning to this. Well, we'll have to see for sure. ETH, Cardano, XRP have the power here. I would agree with XRP. ETH and Cardano, at least so far, we haven't seen too much out of. Cardano, after in November and all that type of stuff, we did actually see a pretty decent move from, but recently, hasn't had the same strength that XRP has had. So we'll have to see there. As he, in my opinion, rightly points out, Cardano does have the most upside. I would completely agree here. I do think Cardano does have the most upside in a potential alt season as we go into that. So we'll have to see for sure. The other thing that we can see here also is there's speculation. Again, the speculation is persisting. I know we've heard some speculation about Cardano with NASA. I don't know if that's actually confirmed or not. Some people are trying to tell me that it's confirmed, but I don't think I've seen anything that actually confirms that from like an official source. So I'm not certain on that one. And then also, keeps coming back to the audit layer of the US Treasury. I know that I had also seen some rumors that at the end of the month, which is here, in 11 days, is the end of February. So I heard by the end of the month that Charles Hoskinson is going to be talking to somebody special in the U.S. government. Who that is, no idea, but it'll be interesting to see kind of what comes out of that, if anything at all. Pretty interesting potential there. So we'll have to see. There's a lot of really interesting things going on, though, and if Cardano is selected to kind of get involved with the U.S. government on some of these types of initiatives, that, of course, I think it goes without saying, but that, of course, would be massively, massively bullish for Cardano and frankly kind of the crypto market as a whole, though Cardano would be the clear leader in that. So one thing I did want to talk about a little bit, though, on the other side of the argument for Cardano is because there's a lot of people who kind of talk about, Cardano's tech is amazing. I would agree. Cardano's got so much potential. I would agree. But one thing that we haven't totally seen yet from the Cardano side is the devs following. And so in my opinion, the indication of a good ecosystem is where the devs go. And so I'll use kind of Solana as the counter example. I would say that Cardano as an ecosystem, or I guess as a tech demo or tech experiment, is much, much better than Solana. However, and I've actually heard from multiple different people that building on Solana is actually really terrible. It's a huge pain, but for one reason or another, that is where all the people are, all the users, money, liquidity, a lot of that type of stuff, that's where they're moving. And so that's where the devs are going. And that's where, again, it's kind of like this flywheel. It's a network effect, right? The more people are there means the more people want to go there, which means there's more people there, which means more people want to go there, all that type of thing. And so from what I understand, and I think it's fairly clear to see, Solana's got a lot of issues, right? But people are putting up with that because of all of the value that is sitting on the Solana ecosystem. We haven't really seen that with Cardano yet. And so I think in addition to some of these potential narratives or news events, things like that could potentially be bullish for Cardano, we need to see some of the fundamental items start to change. And we just haven't seen that yet. So if we look at DeFi Llama here, we can actually see these are core developers on the Cardano ecosystem. We could see they had a spike here at 227 back in 2019, and then from there it's been kind of consistent between 29 and about 86, I would say, over the past 4 or 5 years. So currently we're sitting about 28. One thing I did want to kind of caveat here, though, is this is core developers. I don't think that this is all of the developers. This is just developers working on the actual Cardano protocol. So here we can see Solana's just loaded up. We've seen here on Solana peaking at 161 developers. So actually Solana has never had as many core developers as Cardano has. We can actually even see here core developers being super low. This almost seems wrong to me, but again, this is what DeFi Llama is showing, and so we have to compare apples to apples here. And so what we can see is actually Cardano consistently having more core developers. And what I would say, just given the kind of numbers that we're seeing here, is this is just core, like the actual development on the protocol, not actual development on the ecosystem, because as we know, Solana has a ton of development on the ecosystem. If we do look at something like Ethereum, though, we can see that core developers are much higher and consistently much higher. So, of course, this is a larger kind of ecosystem. We do know that they're kind of working on that L2 development, a lot of that type of stuff. So we can see that this has consistently been larger than what we've seen out of Cardano, but there is a lot of variation here. And so that actually leads me into this developer report, which from what I understand of this one, this is purely about developers, not core developers, just overall developers. So we can see overall developers, this is the fastest growing ecosystems. Cardano actually nowhere to be found in these, which is not terrible news, just because Cardano's older, and so I would say we wouldn't expect to see some of these like older chains sitting in here, because like what we can see also, Ethereum itself is not actually in here. We can see Base is in here. We can actually see like Polygon is in here as well. Maybe there's an other layer 2s. It looks like we don't have any other layer 2s. Eigen, I guess, is on Ethereum, but we're not seeing some of those. So if we look here, we can see year-over-year change for ecosystems. So we'll actually go to this one right here. We can see, so Cardano actually gained 11% on their developer number, which is good. So, obviously not great. Aptos being, really good, Sui being really good, Stellar being really good, but Cardano definitely being in the like upper echelon here. So that's good to see for sure. And then if we continue along here, we can also see we need to go to this one. Yes. So we can see here full-time developers. Cardano gained full-time developers. So we can see Eigenlayer and ICP kind of the two in the elite category, and then we can see Gnosis, Stellar, ZK Sync, Cardano, and Starknet in kind of like the good category. With some of these others, we can see like BNB Chain actually down, Optimism down, Filecoin down, Tezos down, Lightning down, Avalanche, like the whole bunch of these down in terms of losing developers. So the fact that Cardano is actually bringing more developers consistently is a good thing to see. So the growth is there, the growth is coming. We just haven't maybe seen it quite yet. But that's what I'm going to be looking for sure, is how many devs are continuing to come over into Cardano. Because the biggest thing I would say that Solana has over something like Cardano, for example, or ICP, or some of these other that we would call maybe more like tech forward, HBAR maybe even, they just have more people, more devs, more activity on the network and the ecosystem. As we can start to bring more devs over into these other ecosystems, then that is what's going to, in my opinion, kind of kick off that flywheel within that own ecosystem. So, obviously, interesting apps that people use, interesting developments, interesting reasons to be actually on that chain, even things like, maybe like liquidity measures, easier ways to get on and off of that chain could be an additional development to actually have a reason to be there. Maybe a really strong like stablecoin protocol. Tron has like a ton of TVL, and that's like mainly just because it started stable coins and did really well with stable coins, right? So there's a lot of different reasons as to why and how you can be successful on chain, but we just have to have kind of like that your own like niche. So I'm very, very interested to see kind of how that happens with Cardano. I do think maybe this government route could be an interesting route. That's clearly a reason to use the chain and use the ecosystem. So I'm interested to kind of see how that develops. But overall, from like a fundamental perspective, I want to see that continued growth from Cardano. So far, I would say that, price, good. Sentiment, good, and I would say even getting better. But fundamentally, maybe a little bit of room for improvement. I'm not saying it's bad, but it could be potentially better, and that could, of course, in my opinion, help with some price appreciation there. So hopefully that all makes sense. If it did, and if you found the information useful, all of that type of stuff, please do give me a like and a subscribe, because it really does help me out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, whatever, just drop those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, like particularly with the developer type of thing. Do you think the developer situation is important? Do you think it doesn't matter at all? What would you want to see? Are you seeing exactly what you want to see? A lot of that type of stuff. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts with kind of how that would look. So anyway, just drop those in the comment section below and let me know. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.